Coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss the possibility of the Broncos trading for a former first-round pick. And then we had an article come out from The Athletic which touched on Justin Simmons possibly returning to Denver. So we'll react and break both of those pieces down. But let's start with Treylon Burks, as Mike Clay, who covers the NFL, had a pretty good point in a recent tweet of his. With Tyler Boyd and Zay Jones visiting, it really seems like the Titans are planning to move on from Treylon Burks. I'm curious to see if a wide receiver needy team takes a shot on the 24-year-old former first-round pick. I'll just chime in with Treylon Burks is a goner, and I'm team Mike Clay or side Mike Clay here, that the Titans have not only just brought a couple guys in for visits lately, actions speak louder than words. They signed Calvin Ridley to a monster contract. The season before that, they signed DeAndre Hopkins to a pretty sizable contract. So Treylon Burks, the 2022 first-round pick out of Arkansas, who unfortunately had super high expectations because for Titans fans, he was a one-for-one swap almost with A.J. Brown, right? The Tennessee Titans traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles for a first-round pick, which they then used on Treylon Burks. And so thus you had your immediate A.J. Brown replacement during the 2022 NFL Draft. And it just hasn't worked out for Burks in Tennessee. One, he's not even one of the top two receivers on this depth chart. That belongs to Hopkins and Ridley. Two, you can make good arguments that guys like Nikc Westbrook-Ikhine and Kyle Phillips are pushing for Treylon Burks' snaps and his time as the wide receiver 3 because we haven't seen a lot of production out of Burks through 2 seasons so far. You can look at his career stats, and they look like bottom tier 1 season stats for a top-tier wide receiver. 665 yards, 1 touchdown, not even 50 grabs through 22 games. That's not just 1 season, that is 2 seasons. And it also goes to show a lack of availability so far for Burks, who has battled with soft tissue injuries and concussions too. So here's the problem that I run into when talking about maybe the Broncos trading for Treylon Burks, because they traded for Zach Wilson, and maybe Sean Payton's going to fall in love with the talent. Treylon Burks sucks. So, yeah, not rushing to the altar to get this done. I don't think Treylon Burks is a very good football player, and I think the production through 2 seasons so far in Tennessee reflects that. Now, could Denver stand to add an extra wide receiver? Sure, I don't think their wide receiver room is set in stone. I don't think they have 6 great guys, and they're not in a position where they can't bring in some extra competition. But I don't think Treylon Burks is the guy to go after. You got Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick. I like Brandon Johnson. Troy Franklin's a lost rock as a rookie this year. Lil Jordan Humphrey was better than Treylon Burks was last year, so I'm not really convinced that you're going to find an improvement in Treylon Burks over anyone else. And the only reason why we're really talking about him is because he was a first-round pick. If he was a 6th or 7th-round pick and those were his stats through 2 seasons, we'd look at it as, oh, pretty good snag for a 6th or 7th rounder, but not anyone that you're going to pursue. Now, Denver is in a interesting spot, I would say, in their wide receiver room, because on one hand, they've got Courtland Sutton. He comes off a 10-touchdown season. They moved on from Jerry Jeudy, and they replaced him more or less with Josh Reynolds, who, with 608 yards and 5 touchdowns, isn't very far from the production you got out of Jerry Jeudy last year. And Marvin Mims, I think, is going to have a monster sophomore season. And toss in Tim Patrick, who we haven't seen the last 2 years because of an Achilles and an ACL tear. But if you get those 4 guys healthy and on the same field together, the Broncos wide receiver room, it's not top 5 in the NFL, and it probably isn't top 10 either, but it ain't bottom 10. And I think it could be a sneaky good wide receiver room for Bo Nix. But I wouldn't rule out Sean Payton going, I've got a rookie quarterback, and I'm looking to bring in as much talent and competition to this wide receiver room as possible to make sure we get the most out of Bo Nix in his rookie year to get as good of a valuation as possible before we enter quarterback purgatory, where we kind of continue with this relationship where we're not sure where it's headed. Whereas you've seen some teams like the Cardinals just rip the Band-Aid off and go draft a new quarterback, and Kyler Murray, if they know the first-round pick from last year is not the guy. So would you trade for Treylon Burks? Yes or no? Sean Payton traded for Zach Wilson, a former first-round pick, because the talent was there. It just didn't work in New York for a lot of reasons, and maybe you'll see Denver take the same approach with Burks. But give me your opinion down below in the comment section. I'm in for a 6th or a 7th. I think the ceiling is probably worth a 6th or 7th round risk, but I'm definitely not in for if it costs you anything more. Like, even a 5th, I'd go pass. I don't think Treylon Burks has showed me enough through 2 years to believe he is better than some guy you could get in round number 5. So 6th or 7th, yeah, I'll take that flyer. Anything more than that, I'm out. Someone else can take that risk. Now, next up on the show, I want to talk about Justin Simmons returning potentially, because The Athletic, Nikc Kosmider, the Broncos beat writer, answered an article or answered a mailbag call where someone asked about, could Justin Simmons return to Denver? And I wanted to share with you guys and give you my reaction. Kosmider wrote, until Simmons signs elsewhere, nothing is impossible. After all, for 3 straight off seasons, it appeared the Broncos were prepared to move on from Kareem Jackson, only to sign the veteran to another 1-year deal. Still, I don't see it as likely with Simmons, because I still think there's going to be a deal out there for him that Denver couldn't or wouldn't want to match. I'm going to agree with Nikc on this one. I don't see a return happening. I just believe that some team is going to pony up and give a decent contract to Justin Simmons. The safety market's been so weird this year. There are good starters, and that's just a baseline. Like, Justin Simmons is more than just a good starter on the street right now. I mean, Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Justin Simmons, Micah Hyde, like, these are valuable starters in the NFL that no team is interested in, because no team wants to pay top dollar for a safety, as we always see a couple of position groups kind of go up and down their market value, and what they were paid 10 years ago isn't the same anymore. Running backs was the most notable and recent example of this, and right now it's the safety position on defense that's taken a bit of a hit. Now, Denver's safety room, I'm never going to advocate against signing Justin Simmons, because he was my favorite player on the team for a few straight years there at the end, and I don't see a way that adding Justin Simmons does not improve your overall roster. But the bad news is the Broncos, they've already moved on from Justin Simmons. They signed Brandon Jones from the Dolphins. Remember, back in March, one of the first signings in free agency, 3-year, $20 million contract. That was Denver's Justin Simmons replacement. I mean, they're paying Brandon Jones a little under $7 million a year, right? They're paying P.J. Locke a couple million. Add it all together, not even quite $10 million for 2024. And Justin Simmons was supposed to make $15 million alone. So this is what a rebuild, retool looks like. Moving on from a good veteran player and recreating that veteran player with 2 guys for less money. This is Moneyball. And I don't think Denver is just going to give up on their Moneyball approach because they're like, I don't know, Jeremy, what's-his-face in left field is still available. So I just don't see the Broncos bringing back Justin Simmons. As cool and as fun as that would be, I don't think this one is in the cards for Denver. But if you want to re-sign Justin Simmons, let's send a message to Sean and George Payton. Type 31 in the comment section below if you want to see Simmons come back to Mile High. My prediction is Justin Simmons is a Jet. I spent a solid 10 minutes going through all 32 teams and their needs after the draft, trying to figure out where Simmons could be a good fit. And I looked at the Jets depth chart and their safety room, and it could definitely stand for a bit of a facelift. And Justin Simmons is more than just Botox. Like, he is, in my eyes, a top 5 safety in the NFL right now. How he's still on the street is beyond me. But still, I could see the Jets going, hey, Aaron Rodgers, 1 season. We don't want to have any question marks at any position. Let's go get a surefire player like Justin Simmons. And the Jets organization has had no issue with spending money. So to me, that seems like a pretty good fit for both sides. Plus, you can go hang out with Hackett again. Now, if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure to go ahead and do so. Hit the sub button down below. I spent the last 90 seconds trying to remember the guy in Moneyball, Giambi. Damn it. The funny thing is, in my trivia league, I know, very nerdy of myself, one of the questions was all about Moneyball, and it was about a guy, it was all about guys not mentioned in the movie, and it was like, this outfielder who was an all-star and a World Series MVP, played for the Braves, the White Sox, and the A's. What's his name? I was like, Jermaine Dye. I can remember Jermaine Dye's name, who wasn't even in the freaking movie. But I can't remember Jeremy Giambi's name for 2 minutes. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We will sign off and see you all later.